Tell us about your being rifleman. Being
Well,
Expert Rifleman.
expert rifleman.
when I was in basic, I got to be kind of an acting sergeant with some of the guys. They had two or three different guys, kind of acting sergeants. They put a band around us for the sergeant stripe, you know, and so I did that for while I was in there. And so we had what they call train fire. It's where you got down in a little foxhole and you shot your rifle. All I had then was the M1 that we shot mostly, and we had a 45 pistol that we didn't speak of. Then we had a carbine we didn't use much. We had a flamethrower that we used, threw hand grenades in basic, and anyway, I was in this foxhole shooting, and all of a sudden,
oh no,
my gun failed. It didn't. Couldn't get another shell in it.
it's a bolt action, huh?
No, they're gas fired. They're gas deal. Anyway, come to find out, that a shell went into the chamber, but it didn't, just far enough where another shell wouldn't go in. And if it had been in a little bit further, that gun would have blew up in my face with 90,000 pounds of square inch pressure on it. The lieutenant was standing up there and said, "What did you fool around with one of these shells?" I said, "No, sir." I looked at him, "No, sir." He said, "Oh, you have it on his face." I believed it. But it was just a dud shell, evidently. That was when I was in basic training in Fort Ord, California. And we shot 30 caliber machine guns, 50 caliber machine guns, and the BAR, which is a Browning automatic rifle that we shot also. But it wasn't later until I was on the Browning automatic rifle team after I got to Fort Bragg. But out of 300 guys in my platoon, there was only 7 of us that got expert rifleman, and I was second. The guy that got first beat me by 1 point.
Wow.
So I was second as far as points goes. And then marksman, I think it was in the 30 caliber, and then this is the expert rifleman, this is marksman, the sharpshooter. And these are the paratrooper wings that we get after 6 weeks of very rigorous training, called Wings of Courage, we call them. After 5 parachute jumps in basic training, we get up at 3 o'clock in the morning and run to our area a couple of miles away and have a jump school. And out of about 500 guys, 250 graduated. It was pretty rough going, especially in August. It was sticky and hot. And then these little deals up here, we was on a 24-hour call all the time when I was in 82nd. And these tags up here says strike, hold. So you strike and you hold them when you're in combat or whatever you got to do. A bunch of us, 82nd Airborne, baggies and doubles and baggy pants, got on buses. There's about 300 miles from Fort Bragg up to Washington, D.C. We got up to, I think it was Fort Lee, Virginia, and stayed there that night. Got up early the next morning and went up and got in line for the parade, and well, marched, I think it was about 18 abreast, something like that, 16 maybe abreast, and I don't remember how far we was in the parade, probably towards the end, but it was quite quite a good experience of being able to see President Kennedy at that time, and it was something I'll never forget. It had snowed a day or two before, and there was snow still on the ground, piled up along the roads, along the streets, and that's about it. I think we stayed there. I think we got on the buses that night or next morning and took off, got back to Fort Bragg. That was about it.
So do you remember the time that he came and talked to you?
Yes, I remember that time too when he came and talked to us, just like what was on the video that we just seen. It was so that was the second time I seen him. That was the first time actually. Well, first time parade, and when he came to Fort Bragg, I seen him, and I was on leave one time when I took off a few days, went up to Washington, hitchhiked up to Washington D.C.
Wow.
And I was close to the White House, and I seen him come out of the White House, and he went into what they call the Blair House. Got out of the vehicle and went into the Blair House. So I happened to be there on the street when he did that. So that's the third time I got to see him up there. And that's the only time I got to see Kennedy. Then, of course, when I was living in Snowflake, is when 63 is when he was shot and killed. That was a tragedy in the country's.
Yeah.
In the country at that time. See somebody assassinated like that. It's crazy. So anyway, that was quite an experience also in our lives.
So where did you go besides being at Fort Bragg? You said Panama. Did you go to any other place?
Then in August of 61, we had a big operation called Operation Swift Strike. The 82nd had a war game with the 101st Airborne out of Fort Campbell, Kentucky.
Nice.
And we dropped into South Carolina, pretty close to Columbia, where they dropped my Jeep and we jumped in, and I had to get on the ground and go find my Jeep and untie it off the grid pad, and we took it running around there for, anyway, they were for two weeks maneuvering in August, and it was hot and sticky and rained about every day at that time. And so anyway, maneuvered there for 2 weeks, and luckily I had a Jeep, but most of the guys, all the other guys had to walk back 85 miles.
You have the
Bragg.
Jeep.
Some of them, the whole bottom of their foot was nothing but a blister after maneuvering for 2 weeks. You know, that old sand, it's just like seashore sand. Most of North Carolina is the way that country was. And the time you walk 20 miles on a hike through that stuff, you know you've been through the mill.
Sure.
With steel pack, rifle, and what have you. We did that several times, 20 miles in a day, 8 hours. We'd march 3 miles every 50 minutes. That's with full fuel packed and everything. And it was a law then, you had to take a 10-minute break every hour on the hour when you marched like that. So we'd make 3 miles every 50 minutes, and in an 8-hour trip you can make about 24 miles, 8 hours jog.
That's moving.
And that was pretty brutal. 2 months before I got out, was going to be get out of the Army. They extended me 2 months because of the missile Cuban crisis. deal. So they decided we needed some jungle training. So we packed up and went to Panama, jumped into Panama, which was, I didn't know there was a desert part of Panama. It's kind of like outside of Benson, those foothills. Quite a bit of grass, and there's a few creeks running, but it was a desert part of Panama where we jumped into and maneuvered there for a week. Then we went to the jungle and maneuvered for another week, and bivouacked at one area, in a little area. I don't remember what it's called, but it's right pretty close to the Caribbean Sea. In 1773, I think it was, Morgan the pirate captured that area. There's still cannon. In fact, it's kind of a habit for, I think, sightseers. You still have cannons and stuff up there on top where you can overlook the Caribbean, and it's just like coming in the old movies. Sometimes you see them big old ships with the 1700 type ships, you know, sitting out there in the Caribbean. You know, we bivouacked right there in an area where they camped evidently, because I found a whole lot of old pottery. Even found about a quart jar about that big. I think it was probably a booze bottle.
Didn't have any booze in it.
Didn't have nothing in it, of course, but anyway, we bivouacked right there. We got a lot of big trees, and we could swing on the big old roots, you know, like you see in the movies.
Wow.
Back and forth, playing on, swinging on them, whatever they call it, hanging from the big trees. So, other than that, I don't, that was kind of, after we got back, I got ready to get out. So I got out of the service on 11th of April, 10th of April, 62. Went by, there was a couple of ladies there that was going to Salt Lake City. So I hitched a ride with them. And decided to get out in Pueblo, Colorado, because I wanted to go up to Denver to see a girlfriend, a girl I was riding. So I got out there and went up to Golden, Colorado, right out of Denver, and visit with them and come home. And at the time, Gail had my little '58 Ford car, so I got on the bus and went to Holbrook, and I called him, and he come and picked me up one morning early. I picked up my car and brought it home. And
What kind of car?
it was a '58 Ford car.
Fairlane or?
Yeah, Fairlane
Nice.
Ford.
Nice.
Then I got home and decided to trade it in for a 1960 Ford. And so I told Gail about it, and he come down and bought that car from Blockshurst Ford where I traded the 60 Ford in on. And so he took that and drove it for a long time after I got rid of it. But then, kind of going a little further, I guess you might say, right when I got home, I did a little work for Vay, and I was also writing a girl from Douglas
Dang.
that lived in El Paso.
Like the ladies man.
Done one.
You were a handsome young man, that's
So-
for sure.
So I had to go see her.
You had to, huh?
Well, I did. I didn't have to, but I did. but before that, though, I met your mother.
Before that.
Before that, Well, I'll have to tell you this. You know, you've heard the story. Most of you have, but
Well, the grandkids haven't.
I was riding. I had this friend, Jimmy Acuna. He was a friend of mine, and we were friends before I went into service. And I'd get a card from him, or a letter from him once in a while, and I didn't know this until later on when I found some letters that I had gotten from him. Well, he says, I met this little chick called Aunt Purdy. Cute little chick named Aunt Purdy. Well, that didn't mean nothing to me then. And so when I come home, we went and I went to see him. So he wanted me to introduce him to this girl, which wasn't really her boyfriend, but she was a friend of his. Went into the Horseshoe Cafe there in Benson, and I wasn't in uniform then. I had a nice flower western shirt on and hat, and went in, and she was sitting over in the booth. She'd had some problems, you know, and so she was praying for somebody and come in her life and help her out, whatever. So when I walked through the door, she seen me. She said a voice told her that was the man you're going to marry. So we met, went to a dance. There was another gal there. I went to a dance with Jimmy, and we got dancing pretty good together there, you know, and first one thing, then another. So in the meantime, I get in my car and went over to El Paso to see this other gal.
You gotta just make sure you get the right one, right?
So, but anyway,
There's like 5 gals now.
the rest of it, I guess you might say history.
We know who won.
Got
Look at
going.
your beautiful family.
Look at your
you got from it.
legacy.
And look at the kids, look at the family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Ask for nothing better.